So welcome back. I'm sorry it's been a while, and at the time of recording this I still don't know how long it's going to be before you see this, but I thought I would go through my engine and just see the little bits which I've discovered that need repairing after Hemsby, either because something happened or because I've noticed that something's starting to fail. So let me take a little look through. So first of all, the injector on this side is working perfectly at the moment, but I did swap it for a different one while I was at Hemsby. It started to get a little bit unreliable, so I swapped for a different one. The one I took off, I'm going to clean and put back on. The reason being, the overflow on this one points straight down, and when you're driving it was difficult to see if it was actually doing anything. So I'll put back on the one with the overflow that points out, but give it a clean. While I'm at it, I will clean the injectors on Enterprise as well. So what else? The safety valves. While I was away they stopped buzzing. You can see they're screwed down a bit anyway. So what I'm going to do is, oh, that one's already nipped off. I already slackened off the thread while I was off camera. But if I leave that put in and just pull out the adjuster, while I was running, every now and again I saw a bit of spring stick out. And can you see there? A bit of the spring's broken and gone down the thread. So it actually looks like there might be another fracture there as well. So at the very least it wants a new spring. The other one's similar, acting in a similar manner. I might actually replace this one with a softer acting valve, so that I've got the one, as I did with Enterprise, one which will do the job perfectly by itself, but one which just feathers beforehand to let you know that the other one's going to go soon. So they want sorting. And while I was oiling up one day, I hope you can see down there, let me get a torch. So while I was oiling up one day, I noticed something odd. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. If you look at the eccentrics at the back there, this far right one, the arm is loose in the eccentric. So that needs tightening up. I believe the others are all okay. Yeah, so the other three are fine. It's just that one. So I need to get that out and tighten that up. Find out how it's attached. And I do believe that's about it. With a lot of swearing and cursing, I have managed to get the eccentric out. Now, that's not good, and that was upsetting the timing ever so slightly. What I'm going to do is make this tight again somehow and then refit it. With it loose, the engine was still running pretty well. It was slightly out of time, but hardly surprising since this was moving. I'm hoping they are countersunk screws. I'm going to tighten them up, see what it does, see if it sort of brings it to a central position or a fixed position. If it does, I'm going to take it apart, clean it all up, silver solder it together, and then put it back on the engine. Then when I next run it, if it seems slightly out of time, I will readdress timing the engine again. However, it's been such a pig taking this out that I really don't want to have to do that again. Yes, let me show you why it was such a pig. I was working up under there. You can see the reverse eccentric hanging down. I hadn't planned to remove that, but because I had to get to the forward eccentric, which is the dodgy one, which is at the top of the expansion link, it was a pain. So yes, it was all a bit too cramped, too many hands in the way. I couldn't really show you what I was doing, but we'll have a look at making it right. So I've got this off, as we've just talked about. Let's just see what happens when I tighten up these screws. It has gone a little bit less movement. I think as I tighten them up more, it will become even less. I mean, they're tight. Yeah, there's a little bit still. I'm going to take it apart, clean it right up, flux it, put it back together and silver solder it. I do not want this coming apart again. So that's what's next. So I may have sounded a little bit negative about the fit of this, the way it's attached. Now, it's not the worst method of holding this together. The problem is that it's loose. If it was a nice snug fit in that eccentric strap, then bolting it together would be fine, because it's the fact that it's been able to wobble, it's got the freedom to be moved, that's worked those loose. Now, looking at the screws that's holding it together, they're a bit worn as well, because it's relying on bearing against a thread to hold the movement as well. So as it's moved, it's worn that thread. So I've cleaned it up with a file and emery and some degreaser to get it nice and clean to take the silver solder. I've found some new screws, so they will hopefully hold it a little bit tighter as well in the right position, maybe have a little less wobble, because they won't be worn where the strap is. And yeah, we'll flux it up, put it together, solder it, and hopefully that'll be job done. And there we go. Let's leave that to cool down. I'll come back to it tomorrow or another day. Who knows? I haven't been getting out here much these days. But when I've got time, I will be back out here reassembling that. And then hopefully she'll run sweet as a nut again. But then we can do safety valves. I'll make a new safety valve, I'll try and find a new spring, and we can get that back together. So with a lot of swearing and cursing, I've got it back together. It wasn't the easiest, and I couldn't see an easy way of filming it while I was doing it, so that's gone back together. But you saw the problem, you saw the fix, it's just reassembly and assembly that you're missing. But what else? Safety valves next. Oh, I will say I've got the injectors off. I've taken the ones off my Enterprise as well to give them a little pickle. So we'll give them a go in the ultrasonic. I might even have an experiment, put the citric acid in the ultrasonic and put them in the citric acid and get that going. We'll have a go. Can only work or not work. It's worth a try. So let's give that a go now, actually. So just put them in the tank, mixed up a little bit of citric acid. That's the one I've used. So, a lot of blackness. Little wipe. And it comes up cleanish. So we'll give this wipe off with a rag, cloth, and give it a rinse with fresh water. So for some reason that one is pretty clean in general. So I've put the injector back on the engine and I've put them back on the Enterprise. I forgot to film taking them out of the tank and sorting them out. I've also been having a tidy up. It doesn't look like it, but I have been doing a few other bits in the workshop. For example, the Duke is now sitting on some bits of steels to hold it up to the height instead of bits of wood, which is all a bit wobbly. That's now solid. But let's start to take a look at safety valves. So I've already had a look at the springs on the old one, and I'm going to make one new one and order some springs to repair one of those ones. So let's have a look at where I've got to so far. So I cut the piece of hexagon in the bandsaw to just over length. So far I have machined the outside of it to look like the original ish. Looks pretty close to me. I think maybe the round on the top is a bit too bulbous at the moment, so that might want a bit of work to make it a bit better. But first of all I will get the insides done. At the moment all I've done is centre drill, and I'm going to go to my book of drawings to find what I need. Well, there we go, yeah. So that's what I need to make the safety valve innards. So I'm going to get on with that and I'll come back to you. So the top end is finished. I drilled it through, I reamed it, I drilled the tapping size to the full depth, and then I end milled the bottom of the hole to give it the square landing that the drawing called for. And I've also tapped it and polished the outside. So what's left is to turn it around and go from the other side. And all it needs doing there is then turning it down to the 1/2 inch 26. So I'll get that done, and then the body is finished. I just need to make an adjuster. So I've not screwed it all the way down, but there is the valve in place. Obviously I still need to make the guts. Now, because of what I'm trying to achieve, this is actually the 5-inch gauge guts, but it's for a reasonable sized loco. So it will look a little bit different from the top, but yes, that is looking okay so far. So just did the adjuster to make and the pin, and we should be there. So I've got to the stage that the body's made, the adjuster nut is made. I was really lucky with that. I think I'd made something out of a piece of hex, pulled it the size I needed. I pulled it out the drawer, it already had the right thread inside it, so I just had to part off a nut. That luck never often happens. The adjuster I've made, but I've only drilled one hole in it in the middle because that's all I could do in the lathe. And I've come up with a different idea for drilling my 6 holes in the PCD on top. So I'm going to talk you through what I'm going to do, whether it works or not. And this all stems from my rotary table in the mill doesn't seem to run quite true, or at least the chuck isn't quite true. So anytime I've done some multiple holes, they've not quite lined up. Let me show you an example. There we go, dropped it on the floor. So those holes were done on the rotary table for a previous adjuster from the last safety valves I made. Wasn't happy with them. So what I ended up doing was I think I scribed the line on the top of the safety valve. I then put it in the mill, got on the centre line in one direction, kept turning it and then moving it in and out to get to that scribed line. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the safety valve as my holding tool, put that in the mill, and then find the centre, move it out to the right PCD, start with centre drill, spot the hole, slacken the chuck and just keep turning it one flat at a time on the safety valve. That will give me my 6 holes. Then I'll swap to the drill and do this, drill all 6 holes like that. Let's see if it works. That light's a bit bright really, isn't it? So I've used the drill bit as the lining tool to make sure it's in the right place. Now I can set the dial to 0, one or the other, move it the 110 thou required for the 220 thou PCD required, and then change the drill bit for the centre drill and start spotting holes. Now the added bonus of doing it like this is as I drill the holes, I'm going to spot them using the centre drill. And when I've spotted all 6, I left the whole thing a bit long. It might end up that it has to be shortened in time, but I left it all a bit long, so if after I've spotted the 6 holes I don't like the look of it, I can stick it in the lathe, flatten it off and start again. So let's see how it goes. That doesn't look too bad. I don't know if you can see it in that shot. Where are we? There we go. Seen worse. So I'll change the drill bits and drill the holes. So in actual fact, that's come out really nicely, and to be honest, quite easily. I'd use that method again if I'm doing 6 holes. So after a bit of a hunt, I found a piece of stainless to make the spindle out of. There it is, all machined from the outside to drawing. All that's left is to part it off and then drill in the other end to take the ball. So we'll get that done and then we can start assembling it. Now here lies a lesson in machine cleanliness. So I've just finished machining that spindle, parting it off. I need to drill the other side yet, and it's there somewhere. It's stainless, so the magnet won't help me. So I'm just going to have to sift through and try and find it eventually. It may even be faster to make a new one, but we'll see. Good news, found it. It's in there now. Just to drill and then drill it with the right size drill bit to the right depth for the ball to sit in there. And then we're done. And there we go. I've just dropped it in the top of the safety valve for the moment. But there is the ball with the right clearance sticking out the top. The drawing said 75 to 80 thou, and it's measuring at 76 or 77. So that should do the job nicely. Now just to put it together and hope it works. So that one is now finished. Just waiting for bits that I've just ordered from Polly to new springs to finish the other one off, because I haven't got any spring this size. So there we go. Hopefully we'll be good to go now. So I don't think there's any need for me to hang on for Polly, for Polly's delivery to finish showing you that safety valve, because it's just going to be cutting a piece of spring to length and putting it back in the safety valve and reassembling the safety valve. So I will leave that at that, but I am going to reinstate both of the old safety valves, get them both working again with new springs, so that if necessary, if my one doesn't work, I can drop a fire and stick the old one back in. So that's it for now. Hopefully she's good to go now, ready for taking to somewhere at some point. I can't remember where I'm going next with it, but we will be somewhere. So thanks for watching. If you want any more information on the safety valves, I did rush through it a little bit and just show you odd snippets. I did a longer video describing the making of safety valves previously, so go and hunt that one out. And yes, I will hopefully see you soon. Take care.